Early humans lived in Africa millions of years ago. They were hunter-gatherers moving around to find food. Over time, they developed tools and learned to control fire. This was a big step in human history. Humans started to create art and tell stories. Cave paintings show their creativity and beliefs. These early humans were our ancestors, and well, their story is our story. Around 5,000 years ago, something amazing happened. In different parts of the world, humans started farming. This led to settlements, villages, and eventually, cities. These were the first civilizations. Mesopotamia, Egypt, India, and China all had great civilizations. They built impressive structures, developed writing systems, and created laws. These civilizations made many advancements in mathematics, astronomy, and medicine.
As civilizations grew stronger, they often clashed with each other. Powerful rulers formed empires, conquering new lands and people. The Roman Empire, for example, stretched across much of Europe and the Mediterranean. Empires brought stability and prosperity, but they also brought war and conflict. The rise and fall of empires shaped the map of the world and the course of history. New ideas can change the world. They have the power to transform societies, ignite revolutions, and inspire generations. Throughout history, the spark of an idea has often been the catalyst for monumental change. From the simplest inventions to the most complex theories, ideas have shaped the course of human history. Around the year 1500, a period called the Renaissance began in Europe. This era marked a profound cultural awakening, a rebirth of art, science, and philosophy. The Renaissance was not just a time of beautiful paintings and sculptures. It was a period when people began to question the world around them and seek new knowledge. It was a time of great artistic, scientific, and intellectual creativity. Artists like Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo pushed the boundaries of what was possible in art. Scientists like Copernicus and Galileo challenged the accepted views of the universe. Philosophers like Machiavelli and Erasmus explored new ideas about politics, society, and human nature. One of the most important inventions of this time was the printing press. Invented by Johannes Gutenberg in the mid-15th century, the printing press revolutionized the way information was disseminated. Before its invention, books were copied by hand, a laborious and time-consuming process that made them rare and expensive. The printing press allowed books to be mass-produced, spreading knowledge and new ideas far and wide. Suddenly, information was accessible to a much larger audience. Scholars could share their discoveries with others, and the general public could educate themselves in ways that were previously unimaginable. This paved the way for the scientific revolution, which challenged old ways of thinking and led to new discoveries. The scientific revolution was a period of great advancement in the fields of astronomy, physics, biology, and chemistry. It was a time when scientists began to rely on observation and experimentation to understand the natural world, laying the groundwork for modern science. The power of ideas once again proved to be a driving force in the progress of humanity.
Section 5. A Changing World. The 18th century saw the rise of new ideas about government and society. Philosophers like John Locke, Voltaire, and Jean-Jacques Rousseau began to question the traditional structures of power and authority. They wrote extensively about the rights of individuals and the role of government in protecting those rights. Their works laid the intellectual foundation for many of the political changes that would soon sweep across the globe. The American Revolution and the French Revolution challenged the power of kings and queens. In America, colonists fought for independence from British rule, inspired by the ideals of liberty and democracy. The Declaration of Independence, penned by Thomas Jefferson, proclaimed that all men are created equal and have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Across the Atlantic, the French Revolution erupted, driven by widespread discontent with the monarchy and a desire for equality and fraternity. The storming of the Bastille and the Reign of Terror were dramatic symbols of the people's struggle against tyranny. These revolutions inspired people around the world to fight for freedom and equality. The ideas of liberty, equality, and fraternity spread like wildfire, influencing movements in Latin America, Europe, and beyond. Leaders like Simon Bolivar in South America and the various uprisings in Europe during the 19th century were directly inspired by the revolutionary fervor of the American and French revolutions. the concept of a government by the people and for the people began to take root in many parts of the world. Meanwhile, a new way of life was emerging in Britain. The Industrial Revolution marked a significant shift from agrarian economies to industrialized ones. This period saw a massive migration of people from rural areas to urban centers in search of work. The landscape of Britain changed dramatically as cities expanded and new industrial towns sprang up. The traditional way of life, centered around farming and small-scale crafts, was being replaced by a new industrial society. The Industrial Revolution began with the invention of new machines like the steam engine. Inventors like James Watt improved the efficiency of steam engines, making them a viable source of power for factories and transportation. This technological innovation revolutionized many industries, including textiles, mining, and transportation. The steam engine became the driving force behind the rapid industrialization of Britain and later other parts of the world. Factories were built, and people moved to cities to work in them. The factory system introduced a new way of organizing labor, with workers performing specialized tasks in a centralized location. This led to increased production and efficiency, but also brought about significant social changes. The working conditions in these early factories were often harsh, with long hours and low wages. Despite these challenges, the Industrial Revolution paved the way for economic growth and the development of modern industrial societies. Section 6. The Machine Age. The Industrial Revolution spread from Britain to other parts of the world. New technologies like the railroad and the telegraph connected people in places like never before. Mass production made goods cheaper and more available. However, the Industrial Revolution also had its downsides. Pollution increased and working conditions in factories were often harsh. The gap between the rich and the poor widened.
Section 7. Global conflicts. Throughout history, humanity has been plagued by conflicts that have shaped the world we live in today. From ancient battles to modern warfare, the impact of these conflicts has been profound and far-reaching. The 20th century was marked by two devastating world wars. World War I, also known as the Great War, began in 1914 and lasted until 1918. It was a brutal conflict that saw unprecedented levels of carnage and destruction. The war involved many of the world's great powers, divided into two main alliances, the Allies and the Central Powers. The use of trench warfare led to a stalemate on the Western Front, with soldiers enduring horrific conditions in the trenches. These conflicts involved countries from all over the globe and resulted in millions of deaths. The aftermath of World War I saw the redrawing of national boundaries and the establishment of the League of Nations, an early attempt at international cooperation to prevent future wars. However, the peace was short-lived, as economic turmoil and political instability in the interwar period set the stage for World War II. The causes of these wars were complex, but they highlighted the dangers of nationalism, imperialism, and unchecked aggression. World War II, which lasted from 1939 to 1945, was even more devastating than its predecessor. It involved a greater number of countries and resulted in even higher casualties. The war was marked by significant events such as the Holocaust, the use of atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and the eventual defeat of the Axis powers. After World War II, the world was divided into two superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union. This division led to the Cold War, a period of geopolitical tension between the two superpowers and their respective allies. The Cold War was characterized by a nuclear arms race, espionage, and proxy wars in various parts of the world. Despite the lack of direct military conflict between the US and the USSR, the threat of nuclear war loomed large over the global population. This period, known as the Cold War, was a time of tension and fear, but it also led to advancements in science and technology. The space race, for example, saw the United States and the Soviet Union competing to achieve significant milestones in space exploration. The successful landing of Apollo 11 on the Moon in 1969 was a defining moment in this competition. Additionally, the Cold War era saw the development of new technologies in fields such as computing, telecommunications, and military hardware. While the Cold War ended with the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991, Its legacy continues to influence global politics and international relations to this day.
Section 8. The Information Age. The late 20th century saw the rise of computers and the Internet. These technologies have revolutionized the way we live, work, and communicate. Information is now more accessible than ever before. Globalization has connected people and economies around the world. We face new challenges, such as climate change and global inequality, but we also have new opportunities to work together to solve them.
Section 9. Shaping the Future. The history of the world is a story of progress and setbacks, of triumphs and tragedies. It is a story of human ingenuity, creativity, and resilience. By understanding the past, we can learn from the mistakes and build a better future. The choices we make today will shape the world for generations to come.